Season of Discovery promised experimentation, the classic plus vibes, a fresh take on Azeroth, and so now we're here, in the final chapter in Phase 8. But talking to the community, looking at the forums, reading the comments, this phase is very much split. On one hand, we have some of my favorite and some of the best content that SoD's ever delivered. On the other hand, a lot of people, myself included, are feeling growing unease, frustration, and heavy burnout as well. So today we're going to take a very honest look with my own personal experiences and yours as well. What did SoD Phase 8 nail, and where did it stumble? And does this ultimately feel like the satisfying conclusion to Season of Discovery that we all deserved? Let's break it down together. Let's start with the absolute highlights, because honestly, they did really nail some things and knock them out of the park. The Ashbringer questline is a great starting point. Computer bot would like to remind you that just because none of us have Ashbringer except one guy, we can still appreciate the questline, even though it's lame that it takes forever to make an Ashbringer. We still have to persevere. The journey, the lore, the callbacks, it is exactly what we want with our Classic Plus content. If this is the kind of thing we're getting in the future, Classic Plus is going to be in very good hands. And the Konsu content. This is the kind of content that keeps me wanting to play the game. I'm really excited that Blizzard is giving us this option to do some difficult solo challenges that are really rewarding in the end. But then there's the raid, and Scarlet Enclave aesthetically is unbelievable. Just like Martin said, if you're an outsider looking at this raid, it looks like exactly the thing we've all been dreaming of. But diving into the raid, actually playing it like I've done on several characters, it reveals a big paradox. Computer bot would like to point out Jerome is about to complain about raid difficulty. The problem is that his raid and most raids are not set up for many hours of progression on multiple nights in Classic WoW. Personally, that difficulty is causing me a lot of frustration. My guild has really been struggling. It's not just designing the bosses around already having gear that you don't even have yet. It's also some of the fights feel very retail, and a lot of them are very punishing for melee too. As James points out, many of the mechanics they kind of feel like that retail trash, the exact thing that most of us started playing Classic to avoid. Yes, having huge, insane numbers would be very helpful in my Red Paladin, but I also don't like hitting the floor in every fight, because so many of the different mechanics just don't affect range the same way they do melee. If you've been getting frustrated in Scarlet Enclave, hit that like button and consider subscribing for more WoW content. But we're also going to make sure that Blizzard sees your frustration and they do things better in the future. So we've also got to talk about loot, which is maybe the biggest problem with the raid. 8 bosses, 4 pieces of loot per boss, except wait a minute, most guilds are only killing 5, maybe 6 bosses at this point. A 20-man guild that cleared 8 out of 8 the first 3 weeks would have at least 96 pieces of loot for an average of 4.8 pieces of gear per player already. Meanwhile, my Alliance guild with 40 players cleared 7 total bosses in 3 weeks for a total of 28 pieces of gear, or about 0.7 pieces of gear per raider, most of which went to pugs we never saw again. So if you're in one of those top guilds like Jastower, and you're hitting 8 out of 8, you've got the world's 4th kill, congrats by the way, you are probably having an amazing time getting tons of loot. But the rest of us in those average guilds were pulling teeth just to get anything. In the case of my Ret Paladin, they're designed around having full bis, but most of us maybe even have 1-2 pieces at most. Like We Grafoles says, it's not fun for most people, and ultimately they're just going to quit. Beyond those raid walls though, the individual player journey in Phase 8, it feels very complicated. Colin's comment hits really hard. There are some players that are completely lost. There are way too many hurdles to get raid ready, while there are players that are getting a character 1 to 60 in a single day. Those systems are really there for players that are already in the game, they're already in the ecosystem. What Jerome means is that for a pro raider, they can gear up an alt in 1 nex, getting free handouts, while the average player spends weeks on Nightmare Dragons and maybe gets 1 or 2 pieces of nex gear per week. Except Scarlet Enclave is literally designed for you to have full nex bis, so that's not right. The cost as well is massive. This phase feels like the most expensive by far. Enchants as well cost a massive fortune. Most of the people getting those enchants can really barely afford them. The Cashbringer situation as well really shows Blizzard's intention behind everything. You're supposed to be farming lots and lots of gold in between your raids. The problem though is this perceived massive RMT influence. It leads to situations like Hamsterdone's comment, where buying gold it feels so much more efficient than farming. You combine the feelings of being super behind with the high cost, the pressure to buy gold, Ty Greenrich sums it up here. SoD is so sweaty that most people with busy lives, they've already given up, probably in Phase 1 or 2. Remember Phase 1, it didn't feel like you had to have a full-time job of playing the game just to keep up. But now current SoD, Phase 8, it's demanding too much, and it's squeezing out players with less time. So those individual struggles, they're contributing to wider issues, because we're seeing guilds literally falling apart. The pressure, the loot scarcity, the difficulty, it is really straining raid teams. In order to seriously get 8 out of 8, you're going to have to put in 6 to 8 hours of progression per week. Most guilds just don't have enough time to do that, and if you split things into 2 raid days, a lot of your guildies are just not going to show up for the second day. Somehow, without any of us asking for it, Blizzard decided to turn Classic into Mythic retail raid progression, and a lot of us just aren't having it. Compounding this is often poor communication from the dev team. ComputerBot follows the grind diligently for WoW balance updates on Instacart, where he sometimes posts WoW balance updates alongside grocery requests, as well as Bumble, where he sometimes likes to post his upcoming raid nerfs on his dating profile. This is really annoying because I'm trying to run a guild, and it's like, how many players should I bring to the raid? Will it be nerfed this week? Should we expect multiple raid nights? It's very confusing. Or the future plans as well. Is there a Phase 9 coming? Should we expect anything after this? There's also a complete lack of PvP content in this phase. I know this is a minor issue for a lot of you, but for me and a lot of other players, it is a huge pillar. Then there is the lore situation as well. There was so much opportunity for lore in Season of Discovery, but the overall lore direction kind of felt underwhelming, confusing, people wanted more as well. So here we stand, likely at the end of Season of Discovery's journey. And this is an experience that really brought us some amazing highs. The level up rates, Black Fathom Deeps, even No More Gun were absolutely amazing. New class roles, I mean, when Season of Discovery came out, people hated all the new roles, but some people now have completely fallen in love with them. Blood Moon as well for me was just something unbelievably fun. I'll never forget those first weeks, how enjoyable they were. And the discovery aspects of the early runes, man, they were just so cool. And even Phase 8 has delivered some really truly peak moments, but it also introduced a whole lot of unnecessary friction points. That means the conclusion of Season of Discovery is going to be bittersweet for a lot of people. So did it stick the landing? Well, for some people, absolutely. The challenge, the rewards, they are definitely there. For other people though, this is a big departure from the core Classic Plus feel. It leans too much into those hard retail mechanics, the systems that create barriers rather than opportunities as well. This video though, it wasn't about demanding nerfs or handouts. It's about reflecting on the final phase, whether it really captured the spirit of Classic Plus, of Season of Discovery, and whether it left players feeling rewarded for their journey or just tired. So what are your thoughts on Phase 8 of Season of Discovery? Did they nail it? And what are your highs and what are your biggest lows as well? Let me know, legally speaking, respectfully down in the comments. Let's discuss the legacy of SoD together. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you at Azeroth for whatever comes next.